All right, America, you know what it is. Cha-Cha's in the building. Welcome to Let's Talk About It. Some of you all may know, some of you may not know, but there's something going on in Cincinnati. A young man, an 18-year-old, his name was Ryan Hinton. He was killed by the police in Cincinnati. So I'm not going to get into a whole lot of that. But this, what I'm going to talk about, is going to be interesting because his father retaliated. His father retaliated and killed a police officer because of his son's fatal shooting. So let me give you a little backstory. Ryan, he was in a stolen SUV. So the SUV ended up getting stopped, and he took off running. So the police are saying that he had a gun. No gun has been found though. They shot him. They shot him while he was running away because they say that he aimed his gun while he was running. So stick a pin in that part. Stick a pin in that because this is where it gets interesting. So they call the family to view the body cam. And I didn't know that this can happen so soon. It was like maybe a day later. So the father, his name was what is his name? Well, we're gonna call him Mr. Hinton. We're gonna call him Mr. Hinton. Uh, he viewed the body cam, and apparently he saw something different because what he did was about an hour later he goes home, comes back, and he runs over a deputy sheriff, kills him in the name of his son. In the name of his son. And the father's he's only 38 years old. And so
Oh
now
wow.
and this happens, in Hamilton, Ohio. And so they're looking at possibly the death penalty already. They're refusing him bond because of the fact that if it's in him to kill a sheriff's deputy, then who else could he possibly be after? And so the charges are aggravated murder. Uh, that's a capital death penalty, and they have two counts of that. So maybe I don't know where the two counts come from, but then there's murder, and then felonious assault, or two counts of that. And so, and where I'm going with this is, so he's taking his medicine. He's taking his medicine, and so now he's locked up, and so now he's got an attorney, and his attorney is saying, well, uh, he has a history of mental health issues and so forth and so on. Which I'm not here to debate that whether that's true or not, because I don't want to give the prosecution any leverage as far as my thought on that. But what I do want to ask, as far as let's talk about, is something that I alluded to, a couple episodes ago about having a choice. And I don't know if you all remember, America, but I spoke on that. What would you do? What would you do if someone, if someone unalived a family member of yours? Would you seek out revenge, or would you let justice and let the system play out? And so I'm kind of going back to that because now, this basically shows what I was trying to say. Is it worth it? And I've seen a lot of comments on social media like, "Oh, that was a dad, retaliating for the loss of his son." Okay, fine. But then let me ask these people that are saying, "Okay, good for him. That deputy sheriff should have died, whatever." So when this man gets charged and he's found guilty, y'all go do the time for him. Could y'all do the time for him if y'all think it's okay? And that's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to talk about because once again, whatever he did is not going to bring his son back. And once again, I'm not trying to say what he did was right or was it wrong. Like I said, I'm alluding back to a previous topic that I spoke on about having a choice. So if you had a choice, would you have done what Mr. Hinton did, the father, or would you have let the system play out? And that's my question.
My problem with that whole situation is that he unalived an officer that was innocent. The officer that he unalived was not the officer that did that to his
Right.
son. That's my problem. How I would have handled the situation, I don't know. But I know that my retaliation wouldn't have been against an innocent person. It would have been against the person that did the direct action that unalived my child.
So that would have made the difference. You would much rather have gone after the person that
If I was
actually
in the
unalived
headspace
your
of,
son.
if I was in a rageous headspace and I was a criminal to, well, not a criminal, but in that type of mindset to a revengeful father, I would go after the person that did it.
Right.
I wouldn't go after somebody that was just a part of the system.
Right.
I want to go after the person that just did that to my child.
Yeah.
Right.
That's who I'm going after.
Right.
I'm not going to see somebody on the road that's as far as what I'm reading, he was just a traffic director.
Yeah, he was drafting traffic for graduation.
For graduation, that's all he was doing. So he was already directing the road.
Yeah.
He was trying to protect children.
Right.
I'm not going to unalive him.
Right.
I'm going to go if that was my type of mindset, which hypothetically,
Right.
I'm not that type of mindset.
Right.
I'm going to let the criminal justice do their part, and if that don't work, I'm going to find another way.
Right.
But in that instant, I'm not going to go after it.
Well, not even that, but I mean,
after...
just on the fact that he could have put somebody else's child in danger doing
Facts.
that. You know what I mean?
Right, and that I think those were the extra
So,
counts come in,
yeah.
and they're speaking on that, the fact that he endangered other people.
My thing, but my biggest thing is I'm not gonna unalive somebody that's
His name was Mr. His name is Rodney Hinton Jr.
Yeah,
Rodney.
it doesn't justify at all what he did, but it
Yeah.
shows that he was not in the right headspace.
And I also will say that the person that Mr. Henderson, the person that he unalived by running him over, that man was 57 years old.
Hinton.
Yeah.
Or Henderson's name of the person
Henderson
is the victim.
The deputy. Yeah.
Right, is the victim. Right.
He was
okay,
57 years old. So
right. 33. I think it was 33 years of service. Yeah.
Yeah. So like my thing was if that man was doing wrong, like how much wrong could he have done to you? Because he wasn't the person that did that to your child.
Yeah.
Right.
He might have been telling you to stop, and you were impatient. So you're like, you know what? I'm gonna run him over.
Yeah, he was on. He was definitely on a mission. He was definitely on a mission, and I mean, even if it was the person that unalived his son, I just like I said, and like I said, now this man has watched the body cam, so now he's in an irrational state after he sees what he's seen, and there's no gun in the video at all from his son. So I get that. I get that. Mm-hmm. And so the thing that I don't understand, that the part that I struggle with, not only to allude to what you said, because that's definitely true. The person was innocent. The problem that I struggle with is now he's sitting in jail, and now he has family members that have to go to work for him. You know, that's got to just try to get money together for a lawyer. That's got to, now there's, it's bad enough that, because his son is not even in the ground yet. I don't know if they buried him now.
Yeah.
But at that time he wasn't. So they were already dealing with other stuff.
And then you just did that, and you have to, you're in prison or going to prison or going to jail or whatever the case may be, but you're not able to get justice for your son because now you're behind bars trying to get justice
and
for
now
yourself.
you put the burden on your family to work for you, not only to fight for you,
but to fight.
And
for
the only
son's
thing that you have is a mental illness. He's guilty by insanity, an insanity plea. That's all they have. And like I said, I'm not saying if it's right or wrong, because he might be able to go off with that, because mental issues are real. Fact. But that's gonna bring into question, was he stable enough to even watch the video? I mean, there's a lot of questions that's gonna be asked, and like I said, I don't want to give a whole lot to the prosecution to work with, but because the question is, is retaliation the right thing to do? And this, I'm able to take this a step further because now you've impacted your family and you put the burden on them to fight for you and justice for you and your son.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do time somewhere, whether it's in an insane asylum or in prison. You know, they're gonna seek the death penalty because he was a law officer and an innocent law. They're gonna throw the book at him.
Of
Yeah.
course.
And was
Yeah.
it worth it? Is it worth it? And so the reason
Do
why
you
I
feel
say that,
justified by
Yeah.
your
and I understand irrational situations. I understand, when you're out of your frame of mind, and that's why I say these are the and if you all remember that last segment, I said these are the type of conversations we need to have, parents with their kids and vice versa, family members, because that it's real. It can happen. Somebody can lose their rationality like that. It only took him an hour. It only took him an hour. It only took that man an hour. He watched that video, and an hour later, that deputy sheriff was dead. That's
Yeah.
all it took. And so once again, that's the question. That is my question as far as things like this happening when you lose a loved one, and they're unalived, or unalived by murder or what have you. Is retaliation really the answer? Could you see yourself doing that? And my answer is going to always be no. And like I said, this just adds an extra input to it.
Well, I think it honestly comes down to the fact that he probably felt like he had nothing to lose. And the other layers of it are whether or not you kind of trust the justice system to carry out on your behalf. Because, I think we all know generally the way that things tend to go. Something happens, somebody gets killed, they were unarmed, or at the very least just didn't killing them is not the procedure. And then maybe people go to trial, the police, and they walk. Very seldom do those things happen. So obviously it's not justifying any of it because it's fucked up, all of it, the whole situation. But for someone in that position, a lot of people believe that they're like,
I would do the same thing.
They feel like they got nothing to lose. They're like, oh shit, that was my only son. He's dead now, and
Yeah, it's one of those things like I can't imagine what that man's going through and what he went through. So I can't put myself in his shoes. And a lot of people have that problem. I'm saying, oh, I'll do the same thing. But would have, like it just like, would you have done it? Like you can't really say because you can say that you're going to, but
because he sacrificed the rest of his life.
Yeah, it's just, and they're not even talking about bars. They're talking about the death penalty.
Yeah, they're already
so it
possibly.
So like Cha said, like, are you willing to do that time?
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to put your life on the line to do that?
That goes back to your last week's thing. Like, would you do this? Would you sacrifice yourself for somebody else?
Right. That was right. The humanitarian thing. And
there
are so many layers to this. Did you chime in though? We haven't heard from you, Hobby.
I was the first one.
Oh wait a minute! My fault.
I'm like, wait.
Wasn't juicy
Everybody in
enough.
the comments, damn, it's your turn.
Wasn't juicy enough, I guess.
You gave us the shorts to make it. You said
Yeah.
no, so elaborate on your.
Yeah,
part.
I wanna go back. I stuck a pin in something that Omega said, which was interesting. He said that he may have felt like he had nothing to lose. What I don't know is, does he have other children? Does he have a wife?
Yeah.
Does he,
And that's because that's another thing. That's another issue too that I've seen with like parents, and like I said, I can't say enough what they go through with that.
Right.
But like they will put other kids on like their other kids that they have on the back burner because either they lost one kid or that a kid gets kidnapped or never found or whatever, but they lose one and then the other ones get pushed to the side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of them,
or they lose sight of those children because
it changes the
Yes,
dynamic
and
forever.
once again, an irrational thought, because all your kids, you know, when you calm down, you're like, oh, I love all my kids just the same.
Yeah.
And so that's why I go back to, this is a conversation that you actually need to have with yourself, because all of those variables, they matter. You know, as far as the questions of, what other people rely on you in your, what other people that rely on you?
Yeah.
You know, what other people are you going to impact when you make this decision?
And do you have the time for this? Because now you're crunched for time because you're trying to get yourself out and get justice for your child.
Right.
But you're not going to get out, so you might as well face that.
Yeah. He cannot
now
fight.
It's all about being inside and fighting for yourself, and the people outside fighting for you, while you're also inside trying to fight for your child, and they're outside trying to fight for you.
And now
the fight's over for him.
Because I mean now, because I mean even now, even if they get
necessarily the fight's not over, because now he's fighting for either prison time or going to.
No, I mean as far as for his son, the fight that fight, it's over for him. He can't even. There's nothing he can do. Because he never allowed it. He never allowed. All he saw was the body cam. And so if what you thought was true, now you have the upper hand. Like, now I have leverage. I can fight whatever they decide. I'm gonna fight for my son.
Yeah.
But he chose violence to the death. And so once again, and my point to this is, if you're a person that can say, I don't blame him, or I would have done the same thing, you really, seriously need to have a talk with yourself. You need to have a talk with yourself, because that just ain't it. It's just not. And there's nothing that's going to change my mind. You can, America, you can put in the comments, well, what if it was your mom? What if it was your sister? What if it was your dad? What if it's your grandparent? I don't care what you say. If you have that mindset, you actually need to have a talk with yourself and talk to other people, because that's just not it.
And that's his opinion, because I know some people that will ride or die for
theirs,
honey.
Right.
And they don't care who. They taking the whole system down. Starting with that cop that's in the middle of the street right there. There's some people that do think like that.
Right.
Well, yeah,
so yes, they do need to have a talk with themselves, but at the same time, they looking at you like you need to have a talk with yourself if you don't feel that way about how
I have had a talk with myself, and if they say that, I'm gonna say I have, because I'm gonna reflect on who all that I'm going to be impacting.
Yeah.
Because then, if that be the case, then what Mr. Rodney Hinton Jr. needs to say, if he's had this talk with himself and he said, you know what, I have nothing else to lose. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, and I'm willing to go to the electric chair or whatever the death penalty is.
38 years
I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to spend the rest of my life in prison for what I've done. Then what he needs to do, if that's the choice he made, then what he needs to do is reach out to his family and say, don't fight for me. Don't fight for me, because now, like I said, he's put the burden on his family. He has an attorney that's not free. I don't know what his money situation is like, but it's gonna cost a lot. It's gonna cost a lot to get just to be able to live or whatever. It just doesn't only impact him. And so if that's his stance, America's saying for you all, if that's your stance, if this man is found guilty, go do his time.
Yeah,
if you believe what he did was okay, then stand up and do his time. And then not only that, if you put yourself in that situation and your family fights for you, tell them to back off, because you made your choice.
I volunteer as tributes.
There you go.
But I mean,
it's plain and simple. If you're willing to do his time, then stand on what you believe.
But I mean, also I agree with Cha Cha, because I mean, at the same point, I mean, you gotta look at people who do depend on you, because I mean, I don't know if the guy was still married or married to his baby mama or what, but I mean, what about her that's grieving for the loss of her son?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you chose a selfish route to get revenge, and now you leaving her to deal with all the pieces.
Right. And other people, he's I mean, like I said, a public attorney is not going to get it done. They're not going to get it done. They're just not. And so they're going to get out. They're going to get out there. And right now, all they have is mental illness. So they're not even trying to get him off. They're just trying to make life easier for him because he did do it. He did do it. He did it. There's
You
evidence.
always bring stories that I don't even know are happening. I love that.
Well, thank
I
you,
did
Javi.
not know this was going on. And
Yeah.
hell, I was just riding through Cincinnati last week. I mean, and didn't even know it was
Yeah.
going on.
Oh yeah,
So, like it's crazy. I love it. I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Appreciate that. What do you think, America? And like I said, this is just my own thought process, and I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I don't want to. I'm not trying to do that. It's just I just want people to just be able to have these open conversations because once you lose your freedom, there's no coming back from that. You don't get a chance to say, oh gosh, while you sitting in that 8x8 cell, you don't get a chance to say, I wish I would have thought this through. I wish I'd have talked to somebody. You won't get that back. And so let's talk about it now before you're put in that situation.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what y'all think about this too. Like, how do you feel? Do you agree with how we all have responded, or do you disagree? And if you disagree, how do you feel? But yeah.
All right. So that's all I have, America. So like Javi said, let us know what you think. See you next week.